And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 2019 Attorney Internet Marketing Hacks webinar series. In this series, we're going to be going through various different things that you can be doing online that can really help drive some traffic to your website and most importantly, drive conversions, drive new clients. There's lots of secrets from the pros out there, and my goal for this webinar series is to kind of uncover those and kind of show you how things are being done behind the scenes a little bit and give you some insights into some things that you can be doing to help advance your firm. So real quick, a little bit about my company. So Acumen Legal Marketing was founded on the simple principle that if we combined actual legal expertise with industry-specific marketing experience, that we could produce a better result for our customers. So I made it a mission to go out and partner up with a couple attorneys, people that I thought were really kind of thought leaders in their space and were really doing a good job of marketing themselves. And we were able to create Acumen. And since then, we've definitely been able to deliver some solid results, and it's been pretty exciting because, again, taking that approach of combining those two industries and that experience definitely helps us produce some results. So a little bit about me, and I'd like to kind of go through this section just to, gain a little credibility. So I'm a partner here at Acumen Legal Marketing. I've worked in the legal technology field for over 18 years, held executive leadership positions for many of those. I'm passionate about all things marketing. So far in my career, I've grown and sold a few businesses, so I understand what it takes. I'm not just trying to teach you something and tell you something. I've done these things. I've failed at many of them. I've succeeded at many of them, and I've learned over the years, what really works. So partnered with a couple attorneys, differing backgrounds, and we founded Acumen Legal Marketing. And, we're committed to delivering results for our clients, not reports. Everyone gets fancy reports and hears about positions and this, that, and the other thing. But as a business owner myself, I know that while that stuff's nice, what's really nice is new clients and new conversions. So real quick, what are we going to cover today? So I'm going to really try to keep this. I probably could go on for about 2 hours on this topic, but I'm going to try to keep this within 30 minutes. I know everyone's schedule is super tight, and I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to me today. So we're going to go over what is retargeting. I'm going to give you a specific example of how you can be retargeted and how someone in your space could retarget somebody. How does retargeting work? We'll dive in a little bit to the technical explanation. Retargeting best practices from the pros. This is the section that you're really not going to want to miss. This is where I'm going to unpack 3 different secrets to really get the most out of your retargeting campaigns and your ad spend. Bonus tip, if you stay to the end, you're going to hear a little bit about A/B testing and the best practices and why it's really important to implement this with all of your ad strategy. And then at the very end, I'm going to offer you a little free offer for all the webinar attendees. And keep in mind that if you have to bounce, no worries. I'm going to send you a recording and you'll be able to see those bonuses at the end. All right, so let's get right into it. What is retargeting? So did you know that only 2% of all visitors to your website take any type of action? And we call that a conversion. So that means they came to your website, maybe they made a phone call, they downloaded one of your assets, one of your guides to top things to consider if someone were to receive a DUI, if you're in that space or whatever, or any type of consultation, free consultation form. We spend all this effort driving all this traffic, and the reality is across all industries, it's estimated that only 2% of any visitor takes any type of action. All right, Sean, so you mean to tell me that after investing in a new website, on-page SEO, monthly content, review management, video content, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, I'm sure you're familiar with several of these terms, that you're only getting 2%? The honest answer is yes. If you're lucky, you're probably getting 2% of people to convert. In our space, in legal, I would estimate that number is probably less than that. So while all these are tried and true online techniques are important, and they really are, I'm not here to tell you that you shouldn't be doing them. My company sells them all, but they're only part of the equation for maximizing your return on all your investments. So what happens to the other 98%? I like to say that they go down the internet rabbit hole, right? So we start out with a very specific search, and we're looking for, let's say an attorney near me or a DUI attorney or something like that. So we go on, we're going to see some different things. We're going to look, we're going to read about some reviews and ratings, and that might jump us over to a YouTube video. And then we're going to watch a YouTube video about maybe a past result that that client had. And then that's going to lead us to another YouTube video. And then eventually we're going to find ourselves watching YouTube videos of dogs performing math equations. And if you don't believe me, that's a real thing. Don't look it up now. You can look it up right after the presentation here. So let's find out what really happens. Let's find out what really happens when people go down these rabbit holes. I'm going to introduce you to Dave. So Dave has been struggling with his finances for the past year. He's a seeker of knowledge, though. You know, Dave knows that he might need to be considering bankruptcy at this point, but before he even talks to anybody or does anything, Dave's going to do his research, and he's going to do his research well. He's going to jump on Google, and he's going to start saying things like, how can I avoid bankruptcy, and what are the different types of bankruptcy, and Chapter 7 versus Chapter 13, various type searches. So he's really going to educate himself. But he wants to remain incognito. He's an internet ninja. You know, Dave is not ready to speak to somebody. He does not want to talk to an attorney. He's not ready to take that action yet. He's trying to inform himself right now. So let's kind of dissect his Ninja Dave's online behavior here. We'll start out with a simple search of bankruptcy attorney near me. And then the first thing we're going to see, and we all know, is that the top 3 spots are dedicated to what's called Google Ad spots. These are really effective, really important. I have a client actually that last month received over 100 phone calls just on a Google Ad strategy. So it's important, it's effective, but it can be expensive. It should only be one part of your online ad strategy. And, you know, so Dave's going to come in here. He's going to click on a few of these. He's probably going to cost the people serving up these ads anywhere between $10 and $100, depending on how well they're doing it. You hope to be on the lower side of that, but it really depends how competitive space it is. And the legal space, we're in a pretty competitive space here. So the next thing, I don't know if anyone is really tied in or paying attention to what's going on in SEO right now. But, you know, SEO local and Google local and everything that they're doing with the new algorithms are really driving traffic towards these maps listings. And these top 3 is what it's called, the map 3. So in this, I actually took this map listing, and I want to show this as an example because, you know, you have your top 3, which are the Bowen Law Group, Farrow and Crowder, and Leslie Trummel. But Mr. Buckhalter here did an interesting technique with being able to place an ad. Now, I have a whole nother webinar series to talk about how you can do that. Which will come later, but you know, these are very familiar. So we have social proof, we have some star ratings, we can see the phone numbers are right there, but Dave's not going to really click on any phone numbers or anything, but he'll check out a few of the websites. He wants to see who's local. And then, of course, after that, we got plenty of organic sites to hit. Typically, you're going to see the first couple ratings are going to be your big sites like Thumbtack and Avo and some of these attorney review rating sites. So Dave's going to bounce in there. He's going to look up. He's going to look up some of the attorneys that he found that were local to him. And what I would predict and what you normally will find out is that all of them are going to look pretty good. Most people that pay attention to this stuff and really care about their online presence and Avo ratings are really working hard and working with providers to make sure that they're looking good. So, you know, Dave's going to see a lot. He's going to look at a bunch of people. You know, he's going to see that he has a lot of really good options. All right, so let's get back to Ninja Dave for a second. He's learned about the local firm options. He's realized that he has great websites, you know, really impressive websites, great options. He's incognito. He did it. He was able to get through the internet, and he filled out no forms. He didn't make any phone calls. You know, he's not going to start getting inundated with people calling him and questions and stuff like that. He's super confident about his abilities. He really knows the internet. But he left one thing behind on one of the firm's websites. Wait, no, I think I'm just hungry after lunch. Not that kind of cookie. Actually, this kind of cookie. So this cookie is it's what's called a internet cookie. Everyone's heard of these. You're probably familiar with them. I'm going to give you a real super simple breakdown. So basically, when your web browser connects to a website that's serving, you know, to a web host, a web server that's serving up a website, it's going to give you these couple lines of code. It's going to install this onto your computer, and that's called a cookie. Cookies have been used for a long time. A lot of times it's to personalize someone's experience with their website, remember things about their behaviors and different things like that. But cookies are also what we can use to retarget somebody. So we're back to Dave. And unfortunately, it's about a month later. Dave's situation has not changed. In fact, it's a little bit worse. He's going to contact an attorney. And over the past month, he's been performing various tasks online. He started seeing these little banners, and he started seeing for one of the firms that he researched, one of the local firms, the firm of Denon, Denon & Denon, I like that name, was one of the ones that he researched. And it was also the one that was accepting his cookie. When he would check his morning news sites on CNN or other places, this would pop up. He would scroll Facebook for a little bit, and there it was again, similar ad, maybe a different look. Jumps over to YouTube, watches some YouTube videos, and real subtly there, Denon was in place to remind him. So Dave's out of time. Like I said, months gone by, situation's gotten worse. He knows he has to contact an attorney at this point. Who do you think that he's most likely to call? And I'm going to give some statistics. Now, the obvious answer is my friend here, Denon. I will give some statistics to back this up. But he calls the firm that's most top of mind. He calls the firm that's been sending him information through ads, creating this online authority. And I'm going to dive into what that means with online authority in a little bit. He calls the firm that frequently reminded him of his experience, the experience that he had. Simply put, he calls the firm that did the retargeting. He calls the firm that was strategically placing ads in places where they knew Dave would be, places where we knew he would show up, social media sites, news sites, different places, and that's where they were placing their ads. And because they were using this method of retargeting, the ad spend is literally pennies on the dollar, because we're not going out to these platforms saying, hey, find my person for me. We're saying simply, listen, I've built my own audience. I know who my people are. I just need to send ads to them. So you're not competing in this space for, the way, it's almost like an online auction, the way the Google ad system works and everything. And you're simply not competing. You're getting those direct ads. So what might have cost you $15 a click or something like that might cost pennies on the dollar to have these clicks. This is retargeting. This is the breakdown of retargeting. A good friend of mine, and actually a thought leader in this industry, a gentleman by the name of Joe Troyer, he said, retargeting is the only advertising that improves every other form of advertising. And I completely agree with this quote. You can do all types of things, right? We can do the Google organic, we can do content building, Instagram, Google paid, Facebook, and we invest dollars into all these different methods. And quite frankly, we're getting what they will produce. So, best results, 2% here, 2% there. But if you could, for literally pennies on the dollar, retarget, re-engage these visitors and try to bring them back, that's how it props up the ROI for all your other efforts, okay? So it's not just direct ROI on retargeting, but let's say we spent $2,000 on Google paid search in a month. Well, if we're able to go back and let's say of that spend, we had a good month, maybe we converted 4 clients, made $10,000, let's say. So, we have positive ROI, we're doing good. But what if through retargeting, we could bring back 2 or 3, right? What if we could double or triple the amount of leads that came in, that initial $2,000 spend, the ROI has been maximized on that. So statistics to back this up, website visitors who are retargeted with display ads are more likely to convert by 70%. Prospect sees retargeting ads, there's a 70% chance that they're going to purchase your product over the other competitors. And the breakdown that I gave, I tried to keep it simple, but that's really how it works, because the honest answer is that most people are not retargeting. Most people are doing all the other things, but they're driving the traffic, they're letting people hit their website, and then they're leaving and they're gone. They're gone forever. Okay, so, we're about 15 minutes in here, and I promise you from Secrets from the Pros. So if you had me on mute or you're looking at your cell phone, you're going to put that down for the next 5 minutes, because these next 5 minutes are going to be really important. Retargeting on a single platform is really good, but Omni targeting is truly the secrets of the pros, and truly why, just the approach in general is much better. And let me break down what is Omni targeting. So there's 3 secrets when it comes to Omni targeting. We have Omni relevant, we have Omni channel, and we have Omni rotation. I'm going to go through each one by one. They all have their own importance. And when combined together, it really creates an effective online strategy. So omni-relevant, what does this mean? This was the example of what I showed in the Denon firm. We're going to retarget somebody. We're going to show up repeatedly over a period of time. We are going to make sure that our ads are strategically paced and showing up. Think of branding. I always try to get people to think about, you're watching the Super Bowl, you're watching a big event, you're doing something, And, you know, you see Budweiser ads, you see Coca-Cola ads, you see all these different things. And, you know, some people, I've literally heard people say, they're like, you know, you're a marketing guy. Like, that's such a waste of money. Why are they doing that? And it's like, no, it's not a waste of money at all. It's the way our brains work. It's top of mind. It's relevance. It's brand recognition, right? So, you know, you see that tasty Coca-Cola poured over the ice and it's a hot day, you want a Coca-Cola. I don't know about you. If I come home from the gym and had a hard workout and then you see that ad for, you know, whatever, insert bad food here, you want it, you desire it, right? So this is relevance. This is omni-relevant. This is staying in front of the person, making sure that you're constantly reminding them that, hey, I'm an option. So a couple simple steps to get this set up. You're going to set up tracking codes on your website properly. That sounds difficult. It's really not that difficult. You are going to want to use one little secret here. You're going to want to use containers, and we're going to get into what that means a little bit later because there's more than one site that you can retarget with. So you're going to have more than one piece of tracking code installed on your website. So we typically will put those into containers. So you're going to want to put those into a container. You're going to want to create your ads. As you can see, I said ads plural, and this is very important. We're going to dive into that in a minute. We'll build out our Google retargeting campaign. So who is it that we want to hit? Maybe what pages were they on? Things like that. And then we're going to create our audience. And honestly, in omni-relevance, this is probably the most important step, is creating your audience, because you have to think about your buyer's behavior for a minute. Think about if you know, you're targeting somebody like the example I gave, bankruptcy. It's a perfect example where someone's going to want to educate themselves. Someone's going to want to learn things. Someone's going to want to really kind of get some information before they make that call or before they make that decision, right? So having a 60-day retargeting strategy for something like that could make a lot of sense. Now flip that over to, let's say, someone in criminal defense. Someone gets a DUI Saturday night, not a repeat offender, first offense DUI person. They need their problem solved, right? They're going to call somebody. They're going to get out there quickly. They might do a little bit of research. You might have a couple-day window until they're really going to try to lock somebody down, but we're going to use a shorter audience window for that. So there's different strategies. So what I always tell people, when you're thinking about how you might want to set up, think about the buyer's behavior. You know, if it's hey, you know, I'm injured in something, I really need to talk to somebody soon, I'm going to get in front of somebody, we're going to get really aggressive in those first couple days, and then we'll kind of, you know, peel it back a little bit because maybe they went ahead and made a decision for another firm, or maybe they just haven't, you know, chose yet. So we'll get real heavy in the beginning and then we'll pull it back. So again, depending on your industry, depending on your practice area, what you're doing, we're going to mix this and blend this to get the best result. Omni-channel. So showing up on every major platform that you can. So usually, you know, people that know a little bit about retargeting in the space in general, they're like, hey, you know, you can do that on Facebook, right? Like I search for Christmas time, I search for designer women's shoes for my wife for a surprise Christmas present. And, you know, for the next 2 weeks on Facebook, I'm hit with every Jimmy Choo ad I can find across the internet. That's omni-channel. But omni-channel really is, you know, so people are familiar with Facebook. People are familiar with the Google Display Network, meaning placing ads on the news sites, Yahoo, you know, all those different platforms. But the reality is that there are multiple places where you can and should be doing the retargeting. If you're retargeting on Facebook, you should I mean, listen, they own Instagram. You can connect the two. We can easily retarget to both. We want to hit Twitter. We want to hit LinkedIn. Obviously, the Google Display Network, but you can retarget on YouTube. You can retarget through Gmail. You can actually place ads in people's Gmails. And then traffic fuel. So here's where the little secret comes in. You do have limitations. So depending on what practice area you are in, you have to be careful, and not necessarily from an ethical guideline standpoint or anything like that, more from a Google's policy. They don't allow you to retarget for certain areas, okay? Sometimes Google will deem certain things as hardships and things like that, and they actually won't allow you to retarget through the display network. But traffic fuel is one that almost competes with the Google Display Network, and you can use that, and it will help you get ads placed in some of these major authoritative sites. So, you know, these display platforms that's going to give you the authority play, you know, things like Amazon, WebMD, Reader's Digest, you know, just places, Weather Channel, places that people go when they're bouncing around the internet. So, you know, if Google can't help us get them placed there, we're always going to look to traffic fuel and see if we can use that to help us get placed. Omni rotation. So this is probably the most important tip that you're going to receive today. changing out the banner ads often and controlling your frequency. So what does this mean? You know, a couple things will happen when you start showing banners and you start retargeting somebody. And one of the worst things that you can do is, you know, have a super high frequency of the same ad retargeted to the same person several times a day on multi-platforms. You are going to annoy them, right? I'm sure you've seen it before. You know, geez, this same ads popping up over and over again. So you're going to annoy them. Worst case, you know, you're going to annoy them. In the best case, you're going to have them get this thing called banner blindness. Banner blindness is right now, you were all on something earlier, you saw banner ads, you saw things, you know, they were there, but, you know, if it was the same one repeat over and over, it's not a bright, shiny object for you anymore. It's not something where it's like, oh, geez, that's cool. So, you know, banner blindness is something that we want to avoid. And, you know, again, I always look at it from, obviously, you don't want to annoy your prospect. You don't want to have them start ignoring your ads, but there's actually a real technical reason, and it's going to hit your wallet if you don't try to avoid banner blindness. And that's frequency. Okay, so basically the way frequency works is it's a score that's going to tell you on average how many times a single user has seen your ads, your specific ad, in a selected period of time. The higher frequency, the lower the CTR, which is a click-through rate. Okay, the click-through rate means the ad was shown, somebody said, you know what, that ad's interesting, I'm going to click on it, right? So the lower your click-through rate, because listen, if I already clicked on that ad, I'm probably not clicking on the same ad again. So natural human behavior is going to drive down the click-through rate, and that's going to drive up your actual cost per click. So keep in mind when I'm saying all this, it's not just like, don't annoy your customers and stuff. That's the obvious, but there's a real technical money-saving strategy here in place that you really got to consider. So again, just to recap, banner blindness, your attention is going to go down, the clicks are going to go down, and your cost is going to go up. Just think of that simple equation, and that'll really help you, you know, when you're trying to think about, like, why is it so important to create all these different ads and these different types of ads and things like that. So real quick, just a couple pro tips to avoid the banner blindness. You're going to want to drop the frequency per ad. In some cases, we'll just run one show per ad per person on a platform. So again, you know, they're going to see something, then they're going to see a new ad. It's going to be bright and shiny to them. You know, you might get them to click. And we're going to talk about the different types of ads in just a second here. But, you know, instead of pounding someone with that same single ad over and over and over again, we're going to take 10, 20, 30 plus ads. Sounds a little intimidating. I'll be perfectly honest, in the beginning, it is. You know, you got to be a little bit creative. You got to come up with content, images, those type of things. But, you know, if this is something that you are looking to tackle and this is something that you want to do, I highly, highly recommend you spend the time up front. You will save a ton of money down the road, and you will see the effectiveness skyrocket of your campaign. So doing this greatly reduces the overall ad spend. It's going to keep us top of mind. So we're going to avoid banner blindness at all costs. So how many ad variations? This is just an example, you know, some recommended best practices. So of these various platforms and stuff, there's 42. Just to put things in perspective, right before this webinar, I reached out to my team just to kind of ask them, you know, how many ads are we placing, and, you know, per retarget when we're doing our effective Omni retargeting, you know, how many of these, how many ads are you guys creating? And I think it was about 65 was the average of how many that we're going to create. So again, keep that in mind. It seems a little intimidating, but it really isn't. You know, you can kind of go through and you're going to create many variations and you kind of build off the one. So it seems intimidating. It's not really that intimidating, but it's a critical step. All right, so what's the best strategy to implement when I'm using these ads? This is general. This isn't just specific to the legal industry, but I'm going to show you how these different types of ads apply specifically to the legal industry. Think about people who don't buy, or just people that are searching the internet in general. You know, we got a couple things. We're looking for a good deal. We're looking for a reputable company. We're looking for a specific product or service. Now, there's certain ads and ad types, and we're going to jump to those in a second, that you can do that can address these three things. As I mentioned in the beginning of this, I've been in the legal space for about 18 years. I do not recommend anybody listening to this webinar to start promoting yourself as the good deal attorney, right? If I need a good attorney, I'm looking for a good attorney. I'm not necessarily looking for the good deal. I'm looking for the person who is going to get me the best result. I'm going to look for, so, you know, there might be I've seen some attorney advertising out there that's like, hey, we'll cut our fee, we'll do this. If you're doing that I don't mean to offend you in any way. I just personally feel that that's devaluing your company a little bit, and I would avoid doing that. So let's jump into the different types of ads that we can do to address each one. So offer ads, right? So this is where we're tying this to the people that are looking for a good deal. So someone came, they saw my website, you know, they saw these, they were browsing this pair of shoes that they were going to buy, right? And then they clicked around and then they didn't engage. So maybe you're going to create an offer ad that has that specific pair of shoes that you can suck in, and it's going to go to them. It's going to say, hey, for 24 hours only, these shoes are 15% off. You're trying to get something to emotionally make that buyer make a connection and say, hey, I'm going to buy. That doesn't apply in legal. That doesn't apply in our space. But I think offer ads are probably the most important type of ad that you can implement, and this is why. You're not going to offer up discounts. You're not going to offer up 15% off this or whatever. You might offer up a free consultation. That's okay. But what you're going to offer is information. And I told you I would talk about creating online authority later. And what you want to do is you want to create the authority with that person. So when I see that banner ad, it's not just going to say, hey, Denon, and call me for a free consult. It's going to say, hey, Denon, and by the way, download our guide for the top 3 things you can do today to help you avoid bankruptcy, right? I'm a bankruptcy attorney. Why would I do that? Well, listen, if someone's headed down that space and that's where they're going to want to do that. But what did I just do to that person? I created some authority. I let them know, like, listen, I'm here to help you. If it comes down to it and you have to claim bankruptcy, you're going to reach out to me, you're going to call. So I'm going to drip different things. I'm going to drip different offers out to them. And I'm going to make sure that, again, staying relevant, staying top of mind, but they're getting value out of these ads that I'm sending to them. Review ads, also critical in our space. I see a lot of people online. I see some attorneys online that don't have any Google reviews or anything like that. Number one, from an SEO perspective, you're getting killed on the local side. Again, later in this webinar series, we're going to talk about hacking local and why reviews are so important and everything like that. But, review ads for here, we're going to want to show those 5-star reviews. We're going to want to show those, hey, this person was on this page. They were looking for something very specific. Obviously, maybe it was a car accident or something like that. So we are going to display information to them to show them, once again, creating online authority of how good we are and what we were able to do for another customer in a similar situation with them. And then we have our branding ads. Branding ads are very important. There's some firms all over the country that do lots of branding. You see their billboards everywhere you go. You're going to hear them on the radio and everything like that. They do a great job of branding. What's the challenge for quite frankly, probably most of the people on this call? How do you compete with that? If someone has a $10 million online advertising budget, if someone has a $10 million ad budget and they're running commercial after commercial and stuff like that, I don't know if the best strategy is to really try to place a commercial maybe in the middle of the night or something like that. Yes, it's definitely branding. You're getting your name out there, but you're trying to compete. You're trying to compete in a space where you can't really compete. Think about online being a totally different area. It might cost me $40,000 to put that big billboard up on the side of 95 when I'm driving down south, but I could put that same billboard right in front of my person's face. Think about when someone's driving down 95, the scary thought is they're not even looking at the billboards. We're looking at our damn phones nowadays, right? So, even when we're doing something that we shouldn't be looking at our phones, we're still looking at our phones. So do I want big banner ads up on the side of 95, or do I want a banner ad that's directly targeting and speaking to the person directly in their face on their device? I say the latter is much more effective. And last but not least, there's also seasonal ads. And I added this in here for a specific reason. Obviously, we're not offering, discounts on personal injury for Mother's Day or anything like that. But think about this, how this might be able to apply. During the summertime, rates of injuries might go up. Think about when car accidents, if you're in the Northeast or something, when the ice starts hitting and things like that, those are times that seasonally something might see a boost. I have one attorney that does a lot of advertising, specifically in the criminal space, DUI, things like that. Obviously, around holidays, we get really aggressive with the ad spend and things like that. So don't just discredit seasonal ads just because, we're not promoting things for Mother's Day. Think about how it can apply and think about how you can utilize. All right, so we're coming up on 30 minutes here. I promise to keep this quick. So I'm going to run through a quick summary of the pro tips. And again, you're going to see this. So any of this information that you need, if you want any of these, copies of these slides, just let me know. Happy to share it with you. So real quick, Omni relevant. proper setup of the tracking codes on the website. We recommend using the containers to best manage the multiple tags and everything you're going to do. Make sure your ad strategy, the length of time that you're going to run the ads should match up with the decision-making cycle, the buyer's decision-making cycle. So make sure those two are in line. And just remind people of your service through these educational promotions. Don't just pound them with that single ad of that banner, hey, this is our brand and stuff like that. That's one of the ads that we're going to show, but we're going to offer them things. And remember, creating that online authority, there's nothing better that you can possibly do in terms of branding yourself and promoting yourself. You know, I want to be seen as the expert in my space. I want you to come to me when it's time for you to address the need or whatever it is that you want to address. I'm going to do that through educating you. Omni-channel. We're going to get our ads to show up as many places as possible. We do keep in mind that Google has some restrictions. We're going to remember our pro tip about taking a look at traffic fuel and how we might be able to get on the display network platforms when Google won't allow it. And last but not least, Omni rotation. We're going to avoid the annoying trap. We're going to avoid banner blindness. We're going to keep some dollars in our pocket because we're not going to overspend with Google because we have poor scores and everything like that. Keep in mind, you know, the annoying trap, but also don't forget about that technical side, because if you start really cranking this up and you're doing this on a large scale, it can save significant amount of money. So I promised a little tip on A/B testing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with A/B testing, but the Wikipedia definition is a randomized experiment with two variants, A and B. So what do I see all the time happen with A/B testing? Because people, you know, I tell people, hey, send me your stuff. I'm happy to take a look at it for you, give you my opinion. My favorite thing that I see is I see ad A and ad B, and they are entirely different ads. I mean, I've literally seen like different practice areas, right? So two different ads, totally different. This is not an A/B test, okay? Just keep in mind that an A/B test is changing one single small variable. And when I say one variable, sometimes I A/B test down to a single word, okay? Down to a single, you know, the contact box at the bottom, the image that we're using, things like that. So as we're A/B testing, we're trying to see which ads are going to be the most important, which are going to generate the most clicks. I want you to think about the A/B testing and really do it in the form of just change one single variable. Now, what's great is platforms like Facebook and stuff like that have this set up for you. So you go in, you say A/B test, click, go through, put your different ads in place and everything. They'll run it for you. They'll tell you who the winner is. They'll tell you how many clicks they got and everything. It's fantastic. It used to be a lot harder, I can tell you that much. But nowadays, it's super easy, but just make sure you're using it properly. If you run two totally different ads, all you're going to see is what's more effective in terms of ad. That's a totally different strategy. It's not an A/B test. And run them for at least a week. We need to gather enough results to make sure that they're statistically valid. And my offer for staying till the end, you know, I want you to reach out to me after this is over. I'd love to do a quick assessment. I'm going to have somebody from my team reach out. They're going to do a quick assessment about what you have in place. I don't need any passwords or any keys to the kingdom or anything like that. I can do that by taking a look at your website. I can tell you what tracking codes you may or may not have in place. We can see if audiences have been previously built. We can see if certain ad type strategies have gone on in the past. You know, sometimes I get with people and they're like, hey, you know, I worked with a company for a couple years. I don't know what they had in place. We moved away from them. We want to do some things in-house. We're doing this. You know, we can help you with that. We can help you figure out where you are, what you're looking at. In addition, I'd love to help you get your account set up on Facebook. If I recommend you to start in one single place, I want you to start on Facebook, because that's where everybody is, always, all the time. Statistics are actually scary when it comes to that. And B, it's probably one of the easiest ones. So I want to put you in a position to be successful with this, and I want to make sure that you see some immediate results. So we're going to start with Facebook. I'm going to show you how to do the A/B testing in that platform. So I'll just show you how to set up two ads, run that through. It's pretty intuitive, but I can show you how I do it. And then I'll give you some tips on some high-performing ads that should deliver some immediate results. That's completely free. I would really, honestly love to help everybody out. I'm really excited about this webinar series and what we're going to be doing. I'm actually working on a book right now that has a lot of these things in place as well. So I'm super excited about that. And, you know, I would do myself a disservice if I didn't say at the end of this that, of course, if all this sounds like too much and you're like, Sean, sounds great. I love the concept. I love the idea. I don't have time for this stuff. You would put yourself in my shoes. Reach out to me. Let's get some time on my calendar scheduled, and we'll talk about how for less than $1,000 I could probably get this going for you, and that's going to include the ad spend. So again, 6 minutes over. I apologize about that. I'll keep them to 30 minutes in the future. Really appreciate your time. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And if you ever have a question about any of this stuff or anything marketing related, you know where to find me. Thanks, everybody.